Hello, everybody. I'm Sophie, and I'm from the Health Influencing team, as Leslie said, at AGK. And today I'm going to be talking to you about winter resilience and the challenges facing older people. So, why is winter such a challenging time for older people? Cold weather, winter viruses, decreased socialization, and movement all contribute to adverse physical and mental health in older people, which can lead to hospital admission and, in some cases, serious illness or death. As Eve has already spoke about, we know that once in hospital, older people living with frailty and or multiple health conditions are more likely to have longer stays and require additional support on discharge. And although we know that every winter is a challenging time, it's not getting any easier for older people. And the last few winters have been particularly tough, and it's likely that this winter will be equally as hard, if not more so. So, whilst we know winter can be hard for people of all ages, it's often helpful to understand exactly why it's older people who find it especially challenging. So, there are a number of reasons for this. To start with, we know that many older people are living with long term conditions such as arthritis, asthma, and COPD, which can be harder to manage during the colder months. Because the colder weather has an impact on both the condition itself, making the symptoms more severe, but also because older people find it harder to actually manage the condition because they find it harder to get out and about or engage in physical activity. We also know that older people are generally less able to regulate their temperature, and so frequent exposure to cold temperatures, like we have today, can have severe impacts on older people's health. For example, stroke and heart attacks are more common in the winter months due to the impact on the heart and the circulatory system. Falls, we know that there's increased risk of falls in the winter months due to slippery and icy surfaces, but also because people are moving about a lot less, which causes some physical deconditioning and impacts muscle strength and balance. Loneliness, which we know is an issue that's found all year round, but it can be particularly pertinent in the winter months when older people tend to stay at home a lot more and socialise less, and this can have a huge impact on their physical and mental health and also their appetite. We know that common respiratory diseases, flu, COVID, RSV, are also more prevalent in the winter months and often have a surge of cases, which we're seeing this year with the flu. And we know that older people are more susceptible to the really severe impacts of these conditions and can often be hospitalised because of it. So, having gone over a few things which impact older people every winter, I want to focus on some specifics for this winter and why we might be particularly concerned this year. So, firstly, the cost of living crisis is very much still here and hasn't gone away and continues to have very real implications for older people who are generally less able to increase their income or they are on a very low income. We know that older people are more likely to spend more time in their homes and they feel the cold more. So, this has huge implications for heating costs and finding the finances to stay warm. Sadly, we know that many older people are making sacrifices on things such as food to be able to afford these heating costs, which has huge impacts on their health. Sadly, AGK this year have also heard about an increase in scams targeting older people and anticipate that this is going to increase as we head further into winter. We've already seen a huge increase in scams related to receiving the winter fuel payment, with people taking advantage of older people at their most vulnerable and successfully scamming them out of devastating amounts of money. And finally, we're all greatly aware that the strain that the health and social care system is under, and there are concerns that older people may not be able to get the care and support that they need when they need it, despite the huge efforts of the health and care workforce. So the challenges I've just spoken about are reflected here in some Age UK representative polling, which was undertaken heading into winter 25-26 this year. We do this every year. And particularly worrying here is the amount of older people who are worried that they won't be able to eat enough or stay warm this winter, which, as I've already said, we know will have huge consequences on their health and their well-being. And then to give an insight into what we're actually hearing from older people, we also undertake a survey research to accompany the polling. Again, we do this every year. This is the findings from this year, giving us an idea of how older people are really feeling heading into the winter season in their own words. And these hard-hitting quotes give us insight into what winter can really mean for some older people and the very real circumstances that older people are facing. So I won't read them all out, but just as an example, I'm scared I'll die this coming winter because of lack of money to survive the cold weather. Like last year, I'll go to bed earlier, stay in bed later, feeling alone and lonely and not worthy. It's obviously incredibly sad. So, what can we do to help support older people this winter? Our main aim for winter should be to keep older people out of hospital by ensuring they are supported and educated on the key winter messages, including the best ways to stay warm, keep hydrated and eat well, have a winter ready and foolproof home, keep moving, look after their mental health, get vaccinated, and access all the financial benefits that they're entitled to and that we know many older people do not claim. Each year, Age UK nationally does a variety of different things to support older people during the winter months. This includes creating and signposting to our winter information packs, our winter wrapped up guide, and resources which reflect the key messages I've just spoken about, cascading cold weather alerts, sending communications out through our website, media, and social media channels, supporting our local Age UKs to run all the amazing support services that they do for older people during the winter months. And then, of course, we also have our information and advice line, which anybody can call for advice on a range of topics, including benefits or financial concerns. And we have other services such as our telephone befriending. We also have a professional hub, which is relatively new. I think it's in its second year now, up on our Age UK website, and a monthly newsletter, which some of you may be interested in, where you can sign up for the latest resources and advice on how to support older people, both in winter, but also just on topics that are relevant throughout the year. So we really do encourage you to go and check that out. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Well, thank you for that, Sophie. And I think that thinking about winter, especially today when it is snowing, well, it's stopped now. It looks just a bit like thick rain, but it's pretty cold. We need to make sure that older people are ready for winter. We've got to keep people out of hospital because of the corridor care and because of just don't want them going into hospital. And I think our job is to help older people to follow on the tips to keep themselves warm. I really would urge you to look at the Professionals Hub because we put quite a lot of interesting topical information on there. And what the feedback that we've had from professionals is that sometimes some of the things we put there gives you, the professional, an idea of how to broach that subject with older people and some of the terminology to use, because, language is changing all the time. And sometimes we need to couch our messages in a different way than how we speak on a daily basis if we're going to make sure that everybody understands it. So thank you, Sophie.